First of all, happy freaking International Bear Day. It really is. Trust me, I follow enough zoo Instagrams to know. Let's take a moment to appreciate how cute and cool real bears are so we can understand how certain Disney characters don't necessarily match up. Except for sun bears, because they're weird, freaky humanoids too, but we just love them for it. For those of you who are either just now tuning in or you didn't see my last video, I recently completed an analysis on who are the country bears. Link in description. During this process, I realized that in 2002, which is very important to remember given the weird memorabilia and references that will go on through this entire video, in 2002, there was a semi-live action ride to movie adaptation of the Country Bears. It was one of Disney's first ride to movie adaptations, and it turned out to be a massive flop. Pretty much widespread knowledge that this movie was just a failure, and either no one saw it or no one liked it, and the people that do say they liked it say that this is their guilty pleasure movie. This movie is about a young bear named Barry Barrington, who throughout the course of the movie reunites his heroes, the old band, the Country Bears. So I watched it. I did it. I watched it. And now let's discuss. Lighting change alert. Got dark while I was excitedly searching for those sun bear clips. So while I have many thoughts, the first is that the central human bear universe in this movie just does not make any sense. So what we know is there's a bear rock group. They sing rock songs in English. They play human instruments. So with that being said, you'd think either this is a bear world, this is like Bear City, you know, everyone around you is a bear, you're a bear. Or it's a bear human universe where it's like, your teacher's a bear, your neighbor's a human, your doctor's a bear, your best friend's a human. Like, it doesn't matter. Or it does matter, but then it would be an allegory for prejudice, and I don't think Disney would touch that. But then again, Zootopia existed, so. But the weird thing is, it is hinted at because in both the actual movie and the behind-the-scenes mockumentary, they mention, like, bear culture? So I've already mentioned that the main character, Barry Barrington, is a bear, and he was adopted by a human family.
Sometimes I feel different.
There's a running joke that's like bear blindness. Like, when the family gets asked to point out features about Barry, they don't just say, oh, well, he's our bear son. They say, like, oh, well, he has blue eyes.
Well, are you going to find him?
Does he have any distinguishing marks?
Yeah, he's got thick brown hair all over his body.
Other than his brother, young Guy Fieri, no one wants to acknowledge that he's a bear. Yet, when young Fieri does eventually tell Barry that he's adopted, he does so through showing him both of their baby pictures to show the differences. And Barry's is him with like a wildlife sergeant being held up by the foot. And he shows him his tracker, like his animal beeping, like ecological tracker. So are we just supposed to assume that if we right now took a young bear from the wild and adopted him, he would turn out to be a humanoid? Is this what happened to all the country bears? I think it's very topical that I just saw Us. They do raise a lot of nature versus nurture themes, the two of those movies. Not only that, but then it's like, what do Barry's biological parents think about that? Are they as intellectually complex as humans, just living in their bear society and, you know, not doing human things like starting rock bands? Do they wish they were starting rock bands? Did Barry luck out? And this unclear establishing of the universe really affects other parts of the film because The whole thing is that the Country Bears were this really popular rock group in the past, and now they're sort of like retro. They've already broke up. There's a lot of really heavy Beatles references, like they were the Beatles of their time. And so we see young Barry idolizing them. He has posters on the wall, he's grown up loving them and all this. Now, if this setup was different, this could be like a nice message about representation, but it's not. So are we just supposed to assume that Barry all his life has never known he's a bear, yet his favorite rock group are these bears? I mean, I guess they still could be. Like, they could just be a good group regardless of whether or not they're bears. But then it takes away a little bit of it because he finds out he's adopted. And then the next plot point is him being like, yeah, I'm different. I'm going to run out on my own and I'm going to get the Country Bears back together. So there's a clear link between finding out he's a bear and feeling like his purpose in life is to unite the Country Bears again. You see they have other human fans too, so maybe it's not that out there that they're just a good band. They actually have a human drummer who's shown right in the beginning, along with them cranking their volume up to 12, so I think it's sort of a Spinal Tap reference. They have a human roadie. His personality trait is likes chickens. It seems like all the coolest 2000s chicks are in for them. And they are too, because there's kind of a creepy scene where they hit on a young waitress as old bears.
So how do you boys like your eggs?
Hot! Like us.
And even their enemies are humans. Remember, iconic Christopher Walken x Big Al. Side note, here's one of Christopher Walken's scenes. His character's goal is to destroy the Country Bears concert hall, and this is him destroying a model of it. I had seen this scene in like scene compilations and stuff that I watched before I watched the movie, and I thought this had to be edited. This was like an edit or an outtake or something, but this is the real scene.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Country Bear Hall has been crushed! Oh no!
Anyway, let's pretend I accept all of it. It's nature versus nurture. It's the world we live in today, except for if you adopt a bear, he will become a human. That's fine, but it seems like it doesn't happen that often because Barry and the Country Bears, including their posse, more on that later, are the only bears in this world. There's a scene where Barry and the bear gang go to get one of the other bears, Zeb, at the honey bar because Zeb, the reason he left the band the first time, you'll want to know, he had a honey addiction. Adult humor. You know, it's like a bear bar. It's like a honey bar. But they go in and it's their table of bears and then no other bears in the whole place. Queen Latifah is the bartender. So there you go. The movie's fundamental setup is confusing. That's why it failed as a movie, but I guess I can't damn it for that, right? Like, if it's just a fun, nostalgic trip down memory lane with our old friends, the Country Bears, then, you know, it still could have merit. Now, when I typically use the honorific plural, the Country Bears, I tend to be referring to the whole lot of them. You know, it's Liverlips McGrowell, it's Lil Freaky Wendell, it's Big Al, and if you're not familiar, please go watch my last video. So that's what I think of. Now, when I think of the 5 bear rugs, that's when I think of
Zeke and Zeb and Ted and Fred and Bear named Tennessee.
But in the movie, the band, the Country Bears, is the 5 bear rugs, which really, that's sad because it means that even though the other characters are in it, well, some of them are. I mean, Liverlips McGrowell only gets an honorable mention. Henry's in it, but that's because he's kind of the one that goes with Barry to like get them all back together. Big Al is in it, but his personality trait, the personality trait of the roadie is loves chickens. Big Al's personality is loves grass. Like, it's so weird. I don't know where they got that. And then there's movie Trixie. Now, I'm not going to say that the Country Bears failed because it wasn't feminist enough. I'm not going to judge it on its wokeness, even though it hypothetically is a movie about racial awareness and representation. I mean, it could be, but it's really not, or not a good one. But if we're talking representation, in the ride we have the hot one, Teddy Bear, the sad, lonely one, Trixie, and then the little kids who just are too turned on for their own good. And that's the real song, so don't come at me. But in the movie, they boil all the female characters down to just Trixie, and she's like the hot ex-love of Tennessee, not even Henry, which at least would make it true to the ride. But no, it's just Tennessee's old love, but they get to reunite and have like a Star is Born moment.
Can love stand the test of time that surrounds us?
So there's really just one more chance for them to get it right, and that's the music. And I already said in my last video, they do a lot of this making the music like cool and hip with cool stars like Crystal.
I kind of am the video shoot.
Oh, Crystal, hey, sorry.
I am so happy to see you.
Really?
Just take a look at all that time you took.
I cannot tell if she was actually famous in the 2000s or if they made her up, because they bring her back as herself in the mockumentary. And like, even before I watched this, I was thinking it could be fine if the Country Bears used to be the Country Bears that we know and love from the ride, but then they get turned into this modern 2000s group when they get reunited. But when they play their music from back in the day, it's not even the original Country Bears music. It's still weird rock. Now wait, look at that. There are only 4 bears in the band. Let's see, Henry goes with Barry. They get either Ted or Fred, and then they go get Zeb from the Honey Bar. And then Tennessee just sort of appears in their group. Our DVD was flipping, and we kind of thought, oh, maybe we were missing something, but we were missing like 20 seconds where Tennessee just shows up. And then they totally kidnap Ted. His whole backstory is they think that he's made it and he's rich now, but really he's not. He's Elton John's gardener and party musician. So they find him at this country club wedding, and then they just sort of like kidnap him and take him against his will, and he was the one that broke the band up, and he still isn't happy about it. I mean, it's not very sustainable. Anyway, Zeke's gone. They don't bring him back. R.I.P. What did he do to deserve this? Zeke's not even a rando. He was the banjo player. I think they got rid of him because he's old. This movie is so ageist. And I think within all that, I've really given you the whole plot, because the whole plot is Barry finds out, spoiler alert, he's a bear. And he feels different, so he goes to Country Bear Hall. Henry helps him reunite the band so that they can retake Country Hall before Christopher Walken tears it down. They get all the band members, including Trixie, and while they do this, they're on the run from the police because the police think Barry is missing. That's a whole thing. There's this really stupid scene where they're in a car wash. Like, this is how to teach your kids not to get out of the car in a car wash, even though the flappy things look cool. In the end, they obviously save Country Bear Hall. Positive comment. Last positive comment. I think Barry is cute. I think his little ear movements are really cute when he's thinking. To be a good ride movie, you either have to take the characters of the ride and put them into a great plot and a great movie that makes sense and is compelling, or you have to just super capitalize on the nostalgia and really take it home that these are just lovable characters and that they're the same as the characters in the ride. So Country Bears did neither of those things, and that is probably why it did so badly. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more of this.